It's recording.
Anyways, good evening, everyone, or good evening, Professor. This is my PowerPoint on Nike, and it's just explaining how much I find the importance of this company, and how important this company is to me, and how this company has been shaping the world and shaped my life in some kinds of ways. Also, I'm just here to talk about how this little shoe company became a multi-million-dollar international business through selling shoes and throughout the years, and how much it has affected not just me but also other people's lives. And this company has really set itself apart in being different on how it displays itself, how it treats its workers, how it treats its customers, how it treats its partners in business. It does everything in a meticulous and respectful and diligent way, and that's the reason why this company sticks out to me mainly. And this is the reason why I'm doing the PowerPoint on this company, because this company is important to me. So, without further ado, Nike, Benny Tarrant. I threw in my shoe in there. I know I'm not a very good photographer myself, but we're gonna cover that up. It's the Harachi all white. I keep them clean. But anyways, why did I choose Nike? I personally grew up on Nike products because it was affordable, and it was one of, when you look at all the designs, you look up basketball shoe, Nike's probably going to be one of the first ones that pop up. Mainly, also, people don't really play basketball with Jordans. They're too big and gawky, but and they're mainly for fashion now. But Nikes was my basketball shoe growing up. I changed my degree so someday I could work at Nike. I mean, even with my previous business degree, I could have worked at Nike, but I see myself being more useful in the field that I feel like that'll be better for me, for my personality. I chose to change my degree plan. At first, my degree was business management, and I that still could have been useful at Nike, but in the same time, if you look up jobs and for Nike, you got manufacturing jobs, you got jobs that deal with customer service, jobs that deal with IT, jobs that deal with security. So a lot of these jobs that are based in Nike, I don't need to be managing people. Mainly, you're going to be put in teams of groups of people that's going to attack a task together, anyways. So I thought I already got management experience in my job history anyway, so I don't need to chase after a management degree. So I changed my degree to marketing, where so instead of just managing a team, I can be a part of a team and help market Nike better. And I have later in the PowerPoint of my future job I want to do with the marketing degree. Almost every shoe I own is Nike, and most of my fits have Nike in them. Nike shorts, this sweater isn't Nike, but it's a little cold. This is also a solid company who tries to put human rights above profit. And early years of Nike's creation, there has been a lot of skepticism, a lot of controversy, but that's with any business. And in the beginning, Nike was made by Phil Knight and Bowerman, and those two, one being the athlete, one being the teacher, just the professor, or I mean coach of the university at the time. He just wanted to make a better shoe for runners. That's all he wanted to do. He didn't know that later down the line, Nike would become a culture of its own, and it's become deeply in mine. This is their main headquarters, and their mission statement. Every company has its own mission statement. Is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Asterisk on athlete, because they say if you have a body, you are an athlete. They're strong. Nike is very strong on the inclusion. No matter what you are, what you identify as, who you associate with, Nike tends to always be there for the people. And seeing that if you have a body, they consider you an athlete, because they, in their facility, on this facility, not only do they have multiple basketball courts, indoor, outdoor volleyball courts, track, whole track, indoor, outdoor, physical therapy, all of that combined. They also have places inside the facility where you can um, condition your body. Even if you're missing limbs or anything of that nature, you also they have special needs places inside the company or inside the headquarters so that people with special needs can also still feel at home while they're on the campus. These are the two starters of the company. As you can see, he's the older one. He's a little bit younger. Bill Bowerman was the coach, and Phil Knight was the student at the time, or the athlete. He was a track runner. And Bill, what his idea was he was like, well, I just want to make it to where everybody can run better, run faster, and feel more at home in their shoes while they're running. So that was the whole point of him making that shoe. So he tested his first few shoes out on Phil Knight, and Phil Knight was a runner at the time. The company was founded in January 25th, 1964. Founders Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman. Their main things that they were creating at the time was sport apparel, sport accessories, and sports equipment. Headquarters is in Beaverton, Oregon, USA, and it used to be called Blue Ribbon Sports. That was back in 1964, between 1971. At the time, Bill Bowerman and Phil Knight didn't know what they were going to do with the company. So the whole swoosh idea and the whole Nike idea didn't come on till later down the line. And these are just the evolution of the logos. First, you got the BRS one. Then once they got the idea of what they wanted to call the company, and as you can see, they trademarked not only the name Nike, but also the idea of the check. So if you ever see like the Nike check and the Nike, not the name, you always see two different trademarks on there because they got both of those on lock. Then this is from their vintage collection. I actually have a shoebox with that logo on there. It's one of my oldest shoeboxes, one of my favorite pair of shoes I got. And then this is the more present day. They usually just put check on everything because at this point in time, everybody knows you see the check, it's Nike. But I would love to have one of these. Or if I owned a pair of shoes with the Blue Ribbon Sports on there, that's expensive now. You'll never see a pair unless you're rich. Okay, so my future plans, the reason why I like this company and the reason why I changed my degree, as I mentioned before, I plan on working at Nike in the marketing section and of Nike and traveling for the company one day. The position I'm looking for is to get the director of brand marketing, which is being the voice for Nike brand and trying to create retention strategies. And what I mean by retention strategies is what can I do for this company to make it to where people come back and buy another shoe. People usually just brand a shoe and then they give up on it. You barely see Adidas branding the Samoa anymore. You barely see K-Swiss branding their shoes anymore. But what Nike will do, they'll put out a shoe and they'll try their best to get people to buy it. They're not just going to put a shoe out on display and be like, all right, this is the only kind, this is the only color, this is the only type. No. They put a shoe out, they're going to make sure it has alternate colors so that, let's just say you wanted the shoe in blue instead of you wanted to get it in white. They're going to make sure there's a blue version available. They're going to make sure there's a red version available. They're going to make sure that it fits its needs of the person who wants to buy it. That's what it means by creating a retention strategy, making it to where no matter what I do, I make it to where the next person that wants to buy a pair of shoes walk inside of a shoe department store and they see Nike and they understand, well, the last pair of Nikes I bought, it was comfortable, it was affordable, and it actually lasted me a long time. Let me buy another pair of Nikes. That's what my future job is to do. And it's not just in America. This will also be, my job will also extend out to other countries, which is the traveling part. So I will also be having to head the marketing districts for not just the American headquarters or the American populace. I would also have to travel and go to the EU and travel and hit their headquarters in Amsterdam and also hit their headquarters in China. I'm trying to think. And yes, they also have the headquarters in the EU. It's like Amsterdam is another one. But I would have to go over there and make sure whatever marketing ideas and strategies they're using connect with that. They're also connect with their director or brand manager and see what we can put together. And see if there's any comparisons or see if there's any ways that we can market the shoe better in their area compared to mine. Oh yeah, and these are the Vintage 77s. That's the oldest shoe I got with the box with that logo. Nike timeline. Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman founded it in 1964. 1984, they signed Michael Jordan. Funny story, Michael Jordan was actually at the time wanting to sign with Adidas because Adidas was more popular before Nike came out. And Michael was on the fence with signing with Nike. He didn't want to do it at first. He thought Nike was going to be a bust. And like I said before, he wanted to sign with Adidas. Adidas was the hot topic of the day back in the day. So Michael's actually going to sign with Adidas. But good thing he didn't, because he signed with Nike and made the Air Jordan brand, which it took, I think, less than a year from him signing, 1984 to 1985, they already made over $100 million in money in his shoes and his brand, because what had happened was Michael was still a rookie. He was literally just coming off the bus and heading into the NBA. And all these people saw him and how he played in high school, and Adidas was on the fence of signing him, but Nike jumped at him before he even got into the NBA. They knew, they took a leap of faith and thought, will Michael be the next greatest? So they signed with Michael and got Michael to sign with them. And then literally a year later, the dude is breaking records, becoming one of the best NBA players. And then within a year, he made them over $100 million of revenue. So that was a risk on Nike's part, but at the same time, it was a good move. Because what if he wasn't the greatest? Then they would have just wasted their time, their money with him. But it seems as though we all know how that goes. He was great. And in 1990, the first Nike Town stores were opened in Portland, Oregon. It's actually one of the places I would like to go visit. One of the first Nike stores being opened. In 1991, activist Jeff Bollinger published a report exposing low wages and poor working conditions among the Indonesian Nike factories. So if you ever hear about when people say Nike owns sweatshops and across the seas, that's not true. What had happened was, back in the day, their wage is different from our wage. So however much money they were making over there across seas was different from how much money we were making. And at the time, Nike wasn't taking the right steps to supervise their overseas factories at the time. But that was just the start of the company. Things were still up and running. In 1999, the co-founder Bill Bowerman dies at 88. And in 2003, we got two of the greatest to ever walk on the court as well. They signed LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. R.I.P. Kobe. I missed the dude. It was great. But then, because we all know Kobe and LeBron were the last two people to come out of the high school and go straight to the NBA. So Nike, before they could even do anything, Nike jumped on Kobe and jumped on LeBron. And in 2015, Nike becomes the official supplier for the NBA, meaning all of their equipment, their gear, Nike makes it possible. And in 2018, which is one of my favorite points to pull out of this whole PowerPoint, is how Nike unveiled an ad campaigning and featuring the athlete and political activist Colin Kaepernick, which stirred up a lot of controversy for Nike, because we all know the Colin Kaepernick story about how he was kneeling during the American anthem, but in protest against police brutality, and the NFL's response to that was to kick him out of the NFL practically. None of the NFL teams re-signed him to play. The 49ers didn't re-sign him a contract the next year. And after that, that's kind of like your look on how the NFL views money over human rights. Everybody knows about the police brutality that goes on in America, but Nike was the only company, one of the few people that stepped up and was like, all right, Colin, we're here for you. We understand what's wrong. The main thing I'm taking out of this is the human rights aspect. So as I was speaking earlier about the point on how across seas there was a low wage gap. So Nike is one of the few companies that will do everything they can in their power to place human rights over profit. When the overseas workshops were discovered, Nike jumped on cleaning the name and the brand and fixing the issue immediately. In 1996, Kathy Lee Gifford's clothing line is shown to be made by children, practically Nike's clothes being made by children. So literally in the same year, Nike establishes a department to improve the lives of factory workers. And that wasn't just in America, but that was also across seas. This task force made sure that the conditions were right, These people weren't underpaid. These people were taken care of. All benefits were extended to these people. This task force made sure that there were no more children workers in the workshops anymore. In 1997, college students around the country began protesting. And college students at that time, when Nike was still new to the field of shoes and athlete apparel, that's something important because those are going to be your biggest buyers. If a college student doesn't wear your brand, then it's not going to, that you're not even going to get the free marketing side of people wearing your brand. And mainly in colleges where you want your stuff to be sold, you want college teams to be wearing your apparel, college teams using your stuff. If they're not using your stuff, if they're not wearing your apparel, then you're losing profit because you don't have anybody want to wear it in college, and parents aren't going to want to buy their kids stuff if they don't see other people wearing it. It's a whole domino effect of bad marketing. So in 1998, Phil Knight says, he made a speech, and this is when the biggest turnaround for the company and the humanistic side happens. The product Nike has become synonymous with slave wages, forced overtime, and arbitrary abuse. And I truly believe the American consumer doesn't want to buy products made under abusive conditions. So in 2005, Nike becomes the first in the industry to publish a complete list of its factories and contracts with. So they practically, at that point, were telling on themselves. But at the same time, by 1998, they've already fixed all the problems that people were trying to pull out the woodworks on them. And then in 2005, they were like, all right, so we fixed all our problems, and here's a list of all the places we were working at and all the people that work under us practically. And then later that year, they also published a 108 report revealing the conditions and pay in all factories and acknowledging their worldwide issues. So they extended to tell on themselves by saying, this is what we did wrong, but this is what we did to fix it, and this is how everything is fixed from this point on. And now Nike has raised the minimum age of workers and increased the monitoring and has now made all their sistering factories or brother factories or whatever you want to say, manufacturers, adopt the U.S. OSHA clean air standards in all factories around the world. And then the human rights issue with Colin Kaepernick in 2016 of the preseason, Mr. Kaepernick started to kneel before NFL games during the playing of the national anthem. Of course, these actions weren't taken lightly by the media and those deep-hearted Americans that are fazed by every little thing. In an interview with Kaepernick, he said he started off by sitting down. He started off by sitting down on the bench during the national anthem. But even Kaepernick found that to be a little bit too disrespectful because he respects those who are in the service. And he respects our military men and women and those who provide protection from any foreign affairs or foreign issues. So he was like, in his own words, he was like, I'm not going to sit here and just completely dookie on the American flag and everything that these people stand and hold dear to them. No, I'm going to at least show my respect by at least kneeling. So he was like, he's going to show his respect by kneeling, and he did this peacefully, and he protested his point of view, not fighting with anybody, not arguing with anybody, just showing that, hey, I want y'all to understand that I'm not going to completely respect the flag that allows these injustices against my people. So, as I said earlier with the human rights, this was the campaign, the ad that they featured, and with Kaepernick as the main face of it, believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything. Kaepernick lost all his connections. A lot of companies cut off from Kaepernick, but at the smallest point in his life, Nike was still there. Nike signed him, and Nike did an ad with him and everything. And because of this ad, the controversy that it sparked was immense due to the fact that people believed that Nike was siding with a man that was against the American way. And a lot of Americans did a lot of foolish things. I don't know if you remember, but it was a time where people were literally posting videos online of burning their Nikes on the ground. People were posting videos of shredding up their Nikes. People were posting videos of boycotting Nike because they sided with Kaepernick. And Kaepernick's point of view in all of this was that I think there should be action taken against police brutality. That's his main point. That's all he was just trying to protest, that. He didn't think it was right that these people that engage in police brutality get off the hook so much. He was just trying to argue that. So Nike stands true. There was media, there was videos, pictures of boycotting. people posting online, all lives matter, Nike doesn't understand what they're saying, Kaepernick's wrong, da 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 da. You would think after they literally, even though this is in 2018, in 1997 is the last issue they had with the whole sweatshop incident. You would think that the company would want to go on a roll of staying on the good side of its main consumer, the American people. But instead, Nike was ready to face that controversy head on due to the fact that their culture, they're a self-made culture about Nike. And I'm not gonna sit here and say they believe in like all lives matter or anything. I don't know like the deeper meaning and everything with Nike. But what I do understand is they believe that people should be treated fairly. So with Mr. Kaepernick received a mix of support and backlash from the public, with some people calling him a hero, some people criticizing him as being un-American. The 49ers management consequently did not renew Kaepernick's contract, and no other NFL signed him after that. No other NFL team signed him just to the fact that he wanted to protest his idea. And after him, many players started to protest after him, and nothing was done to these other players. And yet, to this day, Kaepernick has yet to be signed to another NFL team. But Nike still supports him. And that was the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. That was my take on it and how much I like Nike. Nike's always been there for me, and whenever I've been in a tough jam, and I hope sometime in the future that I still get a chance to work in Nike. The goal is before I graduate to do an internship with them and make it from that point on. I would love to be a part of the Nike team. Thank you for watching.